ended up happening was there was some miscommunication. The driver didn't know we were waiting. We didn't know he was waiting. And then he was circling around the place to take us. And then when he finally found us, he was fuming. And when we found him, we were fuming. We had to meet the sheikh. There's only like a small gap left. And we're like, where were you for 2 hours? And he's like, where were you for 2 hours? And it got heated. But the moment one of us said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, it felt as though the entire argument just dissipated. Why? Because the moment you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem loud, and the person you're speaking to is a Muslim, you immediately realize, listen, we have bigger problems. Don't let shaitan use this as a way for us to break our relationship. So the first thing we do is we seek protection from shaitan. Then the second thing we do, Nabi ﷺ says that if you're standing up, sit down. If you're sitting down, lie down. And if that's not enough, leave that gathering. Leave that gathering. Sometimes we just need a few seconds to calm down. And again, I don't want to talk about anybody, I'll talk about my own experience. The number of times in meetings or conferences or conversations, because of misunderstandings, myself and the other person, we both start getting angry. And I think in my mind, if I don't resolve this right now, that's it. There's no way we're gonna leave this unresolved. And then I tell myself, you know what? Let me wait until tomorrow and I'm gonna talk about it. Right now, I'm not in the right frame of mind, state of mind to talk. I walk away, I kid you not, in half an hour, I look back and I wonder, Inna lillah, what a petty, what a small, what a simple little thing I'm fighting with that person for. And I come back and the next day I said, you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I feel like that argument started off on a bad note and it was unnecessary. And both of these, we're not even going to other psychologists or we're not going to experts. This is the advice of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is this advice? That number one, seek protection from shaitan. Number two, try our best to leave that gathering. And the last thing I will say, and I mentioned this already, but it's the Quranic advice. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. Because if I don't get angry, but I don't forgive that person in my heart, that's going to fester in my heart forever. I have an argument, and I get angry, but I control my anger. And every single day I think back at that argument. Oh, I should have said this. I should have done that. Why didn't I say this? Why did he say that to me? Then my anger swells up again and I get angry. Then I control it. Then the next day, then the next day. Until I don't forgive that person and I make up, then that is going to bug me to my grave. If I have an argument with my family, if I have an argument with a coworker, if I have a misunderstanding and I'm getting angry, if I do not resolve that situation right now, then that situation is going to bug me, because I'm going to end on this. How many of us have been in a situation where we get angry, and the longer we delay, the more our ego, the more our takabbur, the more our nafs tells us, I'm not going to that person, he has to come to me. I'm not going to reconcile with my mom and dad. I'm not going to reconcile with my brothers and sisters. They're my children, they should listen to me. My spouse, she's under me, she should listen. All of these arguments begin to fester, and it gets worse and it gets worse. The best time to resolve a situation is right there and then. Otherwise, shaitan will, okay, you know what, you're not angry right now. Tomorrow he's going to bring it up again. If not tomorrow, next week. If not next week, next month. And you will never forget about that argument. So what's the Quranic and advice from the Sunnah? We first seek protection from shaitan. And that sets the tone. Everybody knows that, listen, let's try to put this aside and try to reconcile. Number two, if it's not working on the spot, we step aside, we sit down, we try to change the conversation, or we walk out. And then we come back. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. And we try to ask one another for forgiveness. And I'll tell you, for one, these steps are not easy. I'm not going to talk about anybody else. I'll talk about myself. These things are difficult. When you're in the heat of the moment, you would think that literally the most important thing on the face of the planet, more important than climate change, more important than anything on earth, is my dispute with this person. But it just takes a few moments to sit down and contemplate, and inshallah we can resolve something that begins small but can lead to years and years of miscommunication. It can lead to years and years of families breaking. It can lead to years and years of not talking to one another only because of something very small and we did not resolve it at that time. Again, it's difficult, but that's where the ajr and the reward lies. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to control our anger. We ask Allah to give us tawfiq to resolve our conflicts. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us clean hearts with our families and our brothers and sisters and humanity at large. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullahu khairan, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.